What's going on, guys? This is AndrewChicken and welcome back to another video. Furia is the newest support champion to Paladins, who a lot of people consider OP because she is super strong at putting out an impressive amount of healing while rivaling the damage champions on her team for top damage, which is quite a feat for a support champion. She also has her super powerful Pyre Strike attack that's like Maldamba's stun on steroids, passing through everything and dealing immense damage to anything that stands in it for too long. She is a super strong champion right now, but if you know how to counter her correctly, she becomes much less of a problem to deal with. So, let's get into how to counter the newest support in Paladins, Furia. Furia's Pyre Strike is the biggest reason why she's such an annoying champion at the moment. This ability travels forward quite some distance and passes through everything, including walls, shields, and champions, stunning and dealing damage to anything it touches. If you're hiding behind a wall, you can be easily blindsided and killed by this beast of an ability, if Furia knows what she's doing. But there are a few things you can do to prevent her from stunning you every 12 seconds. By maintaining an almost constant line of sight with her while keeping your distance, you can be much more prepared to dodge her Pyre Strike because you'll see it coming from a great distance away. While you don't have to focus her and be aiming at her 24/7, at least knowing where she's coming from or keeping her in the corner of your eye will make you much more prepared for a Pyre Strike than turning your back to her or having a limited line of sight where you can't see where she's coming from. However, what you never ever want to do is fight Furia in a hallway or closed space where you don't have much room to dodge her Pyre Strike. Furia wants to fight you in a closed hallway because she can deal her maximum damage to you really easily, since it's much harder to dodge a Pyre Strike in a closed hallway than abilities from other champions like Willow Seedling, Bomb King's Grumpy Bomb, or Tyra's Firebomb. It's much better to fight Furia out in the open where she's much less likely to land her Pyre Strike on you than in a hallway or closed area, so try and pick a fight with her out in the open instead. It's also important to know that if you play a frontline champion like Fernando or Makoa, you can't just hide behind your shield from the Pyre Strike since it goes through shields. So if you feel like you can't avoid getting stunned by the strike for whatever reason, wait to put up your shield until after you're stunned, because if you put it up before you get stunned and then you get hit by the Pyre Strike, your shield goes back on cooldown, and if you need to use it to retreat because the enemy's focus fired you while you were stunned, you won't have it available to use unless you're Khan or Terminus, who don't have definitive cooldowns on their shield and power siphon. While Furia isn't on the competitive scene yet, she's picked almost every single match right now since she's the newest champion and everyone wants to play her. So, counter picks of Furia are good things to consider when choosing a champion to play. There are two effective ways to fight Furia, flanking her and fighting at a distance. By picking a damage champion like Shaolin or Bomb King, you can take her out in a few shots at a distance while also, as I mentioned earlier, being able to dodge her Pyre Strike pretty easily. She also has a shotgun, and while it's pretty broken right now with its super tight spread that allows her to poke for 200 damage at pretty long distances, you still won't take the full force of her shots like you would up close. Outranging Furia is a really effective way to take her out, but you don't want to pick Drogoz or Willow because Furia has one of the best weapons in the game for taking out flying troops. It has a high fire rate, consistent damage, and it doesn't need to be pinpoint accurate like Kinesis rifle to snipe someone out of the sky. In one match, for example, I was able to kill Willow every single time she ulted, with ease, and absolutely no help from my teammates because Furia's weapon is so strong against flying targets. The other way to take out Furia is to flank her. Furia's movement ability is the weakest part of her kit, sending her backward a short distance and firing 3 homing projectiles that deal 200 damage each. Every single other support champion has an easy way to escape from a flanker, like Grover with his Vine, Pip with Weightless, Ying with Dimensional Link, or Ceres with her Shadow Travel. But Furia must fight off a flanker because her movement ability isn't nearly as strong as any of the other support champions. This makes her extremely vulnerable to a flanker if they catch her by surprise and land a shot or two before she notices, since she won't be able to escape from them very easily and will be forced to fight the flanker with the element of surprise on the flanker's side. The only problem a flank would have to deal with is the full force of Furia's shotgun blasts and the Pyre Strike, which she'll have a much easier time hitting up close. If you can read when she'll use the strike though, you can dodge it pretty easily and continue fighting her with Eevee or Xin, since their Ice Block and ability will allow them to completely ignore her Pyre Strike. Just know that when you play Xin, Counter, the legendary move that can deny a Drogoz ultimate, cannot block Furia's Pyre Strike, so Billow is the only option to avoid it, aside from simply dodging it. If your team already has a damage and flank champion and you find yourself needing to play a frontline, there are two things you need to consider when choosing a tank: how much health they have, and how much built-in crowd control immunity they can put in their loadout. Inara and Makoa are both great picks against Fury because Inara has the Mother's Grace talent that grants her total crowd control immunity while she's using Earthen Guard, which turns Furia's Pyre Strike into nothing more than a glorified Tickle Beam. And Makoa has the Determination card which he can throw into his loadout at level 5 and give himself 70% crowd control reduction, so he'll hardly be affected by Pyre Strike's stun, and can hook her immediately afterward into her death. Tanks like Barrack and Ruckus wouldn't be very good against Furia, because Barrack hardly has enough health to be considered a tank, so if he gets stunned and focus fired because of the Pyre Strike, he's simply dead, while other tanks in the same situation would only drop to half health and could retreat if necessary. Ruckus doesn't have any cards he could put into his loadout to reduce the effect of crowd control, so he'll take the full second of stun to the face if he gets hit. There are a few strong items you can use to counter Furia and kill her most effectively. Resilience is absolutely crucial if she can consistently land her Pyre Strikes, but it's especially necessary if she has the Exterminate talent, because you'll be bathing in the heat of the Pyre Strike for the full second or longer you're stunned, dealing 800 or more free damage that can be significantly reduced if you buy Resilience and get out of the Pyre Strike immediately. If you can dodge her Pyre Strikes easily, or she doesn't have Exterminate, you can get away with buying Haven or Blast Shields, depending on which enemies on their team are dealing the most damage to you. Cauterize, as with all other support champions, can counter her healing potential, but if she has good tanks on her team that know to stand in her Pyre Strike when she's using the Solar Blessing talent, you need to buy Tier 3 Cauterize as quickly as possible if you have a good weapon for reapplying Cauterize, like Victor's Rifle or Ruckus's miniguns. If her tanks just stand in that beam all the time, they heal for 6,000 health over the course of the beam's duration, which is more healing than any tank has for a health pool. But with Cauterize 3, that healing gets mitigated down to only 600 over the beam's duration. While it's still a nice heal to have, it can completely ruin Furia and the enemy tank's day. If you're playing Leon and you encounter this situation, Death and Taxes can make Furia's life miserable, as she sees her beam's massive healing potential reduced to almost nothing right at the beginning of the match. The utility and healing items are really just personal choice, as there isn't really a direct counter to Furia in those items. If you're flanking and find 1v1ing her difficult, Life Rip and Chronos can help, but otherwise those items don't really matter as much as the others. Anyways, that's the end of this video. Did this video help you counter Furia, the newest support in Paladins? Leave a like if it did, and let me know in the comment section who you'd like to know how to counter next. Also, be sure to subscribe if you want to see more content like this from me, and join my Discord using the code in the description if you want to play with me and other good people, or want tips to get better at Paladins. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.